anytime there is a guest or somebody new, they always say, "Garietare na balea mwishi." But as a child, I used to question that because I used to be like, if the police hear a car and you're in a number plate, that's the first one they stop. But anyway, I digress. My name is Joel Ranger, and I have been a member of this congregation for the last year. I would like to recognize my partner, Pauline. You can say hi to the people. Yeah, so she gave a testimony of how we found ourselves in this church. So her mom came and visited us for the summer, and we wanted a place where we would feel like home. And when we came, we felt this was the place for us, and we have been here ever since. And I think if she was sitting there and see us up here, she would be so proud, and we will definitely send her some, videos to see how far we've come. And we want to thank you so much for your support. I want to also thank our Reverend. When Reverend called me and told me that I would be delivering the word, I think I tried to type as many ways I can turn it down and say I will not be able to. But with her encouragement, I'm glad that I was able to do that. I also want to thank our patron and the whole youth group, because your empowerment and you guys believing in me and also seeing what you guys have done here. He has motivated me, and I felt I also can do it. I also can get there and deliver the word. So thank you very much. So the theme of the Youth Week has been about holiness and the fear of God. And the main passage that was guiding us was about the story of Joseph. Just to give a small backstory about Joseph, Joseph was a guy who was born from his father Jacob, and he was loved by his father very much. And the reason is because he was born to Jacob when he was an old man. And again, Joseph would have these dreams, and he would share them with his brothers, including one when he told them that at some point they would bow before him. So his brothers were very jealous of him. And eventually they decided to sell him off to Egypt, and they told his dad that he had died. And this was a very sad thing for his father. And now Joseph finds himself in Egypt. And I would like to think of the story of Joseph as how we are here. We in Canada, we're in a foreign land, and it's something that you did not expect. You did not choose how we got here, but what matters is that we're here. And now Joseph finds himself working for one of the Pharaoh's officials, a guy by the name of Potiphar. And with God's grace and favor, Joseph has grown into a handsome man. And I think that's one thing that stood out, is because when you have God's favor with you, you start to even look good. You look beautiful when you have God's favor with you. So one of the best skincare routine is to have favor with God, carry favor with God, and He will make you beautiful, handsome, So now, God's doing don't go unnoticed. And Potiphar's wife started to take note of God's doing on Joseph. And day after day, he asked Joseph to come to bed with him. The one thing that I would like to take note of, that part is about day after day, because this tells us about how constant temptation is. The devil is not the kind of person who gives up. The devil akujangi anakuuliza one day, do you want to do this? Oh, utaki? Okay, I'm like, no. He insists, and he will do that day after day until he sees whether your result wavers. Another way we see that is what he did to Jesus. So the devil tempted Jesus 3 times before Jesus cast him away. And I would like to believe, had he not done that, Joseph would have kept trying to break Jesus. But another lesson we see from Jesus is, at some point you have to tell him to get away from you. Another thing also in that story of Jesus is about the different forms that the devil uses to try and tempt you. He tried to tempt him with riches, turn stones into bread, and also tell him, test the power of God, let's see whether he can help you. So even for us, the people who are in church today, and also the youth, the devil doesn't have just one tool in his toolbox. he has many things. He will tempt you with sexual immorality, he will tempt you with drugs, he will tempt you with lying and cheating, and so many others that you cannot fathom. Because I'd like to think, Shetani anamkanga mapema sana. I think very early, maybe even before we do, and he starts plotting for us. So we have to always remain vigilant and say no. Another thing we see about the story of Joseph is that he was saying no to somebody who had more authority than him. Because if you think of a household, the wife is, in this case, you would think of her as the deputy to Potiphar himself. And you saying no to her demands, that would likely cause her to maybe say something negative against you to his husband. But Joseph was not afraid of this, and he kept saying no even to her, even if she was the master's wife. And his reason for saying this, he told her when he was responding to her, he said, "How then could I do such an immoral sin against God?" And you can see his values. Of course, he didn't want to do anything bad against his master because his master had treated him very fairly. But it is because of the fear of God. Joseph was a guy who had always carried favor with God, and he would always present this throughout his life. And even when he was tempted, he did not waver because he knew he would not go against God's wishes. In a modern context of what I would say is of how constant temptation is, I think this is more about things that, let's say, we see online and also about friends. And about online, I like to think of things like our social media platforms. They have this thing called an algorithm. An algorithm is something that tries to show you exactly what it seems like you're enjoying. Like today, you search on a video of politics and you see the first one. The next one will turn and be a medal and others, and you'll continue to see politics because it learns what you like and continues to give you more. So, when it comes to the things that you interact with, try to curate yourself with things that do not take you away from the goodness of God. Because the moment you entertain temptation, just like an algorithm, the devil will be like, okay, since he likes to sin, I will give him another chance to sin. And the more you do that, the more you get away from the goodness of God. And it is very important for you to also keep the right people. Because I don't think there is anyone who has more influence than the people around you. And that's why even people who do marketing, they tell a friend, because anything that a friend has put in as his stamp of approval, it is likely to stick with you. If your friend tells you, buy this, it's good. So keeping the right people, because if you have the wrong people around you and they tell you, try this or do this, you're likely to listen to them because they're the people who are close to you. It is very important for all of us to have the right people around us. In Matthew 5:29 and 30, the Bible tells us, "So if your right eye causes you to sin, take it out and throw it away. It is much better for you to lose a part of your body than to have your whole body thrown in hell. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is much better for you to lose one of your limbs than to have your whole body go off to hell." What I would say about this is, of course, I don't think we can interpret this in us removing our eyes or cutting our hands off. You don't want to start receiving your DSP for disability because you cut your hand off. But what we can interpret this as is cutting off the people who influence you negatively, people who will get you to go away from the goodness of God, or engaging in things like social media, like platforms that or content online that will get away from the goodness of God. You have to cut this away from you because you don't want to find yourself in the end going to hell because of something that was short-lived, something that you would have cut off, and you would have found yourself rejoicing in eternal glory. So keep the right company and also engage with the right things. Another thing we can see about the story of Joseph is that we must be ready to face repercussions for rejecting temptations, because sometimes it does not go as planned. In the case of Joseph, the repercussion he faced for rejecting temptation was Potiphar accused him of trying to rape him, and he found himself being thrown in jail. He did the right thing, but he found himself suffering the consequences for that. So you can find yourself also suffering the consequences of saying no to temptation, such as losing friends. You might find friends are not associating with you because you won't go along with maybe what they're trying to take part in. You might also find yourself feeling out of place. Maybe you don't want to participate in something that society has normalized, but you have rejected that, and that will make you feel out of place. A thing we also see about the story of Joseph is about not taking the easy way out. Because the easy way out in this case, let's say Joseph had been tempted and got ahead with what Potiphar's wife was asking. He would have continued to work at that master's house. Maybe he would have even gotten more freedom because now he was doing favors that he wasn't supposed to. But all this would have been short-lived. And he decided not to take the easy way out. And the one thing that we always see about the story of Joseph is that Joseph had always had favor from God, from all the way since he was young. And had he done this, he would have lost favor with God. And even when he was thrown in jail, he went ahead to be put in charge of the other prisoners. And all this is because Joseph remained faithful to God all the way through the end. And if you look at the story of Joseph, he continues on to interpret the dream for the baker and the wine steward. And these eventually got to Pharaoh, and he interpreted a dream for Pharaoh, and he became governor. All these that he achieved later on in his life, they would have never come to fruition had he gone against God's wishes and did what Potiphar's wife was asking. It is very important for all of us to think long term, because all our actions have consequences. And we will always reap what we sow. If you sow seeds of immorality, that is all that you will reap. And in this case, things like social pressure, and I think this happens to most of us as the youth. As you're growing up, it is very easy to compare with other people and see what they are doing in their lives and feel as if you're behind. And this can tempt you to do something that is against God's wishes, trying to catch up with this. I really do urge you, do not be tempted to take any shortcuts, because God has a plan for us. From the day you were born, from the day you were created in your mother's womb, God had a path for you, and He will make things beautiful in His own time. So do not be tempted to take shortcuts, trying to achieve what another person has achieved, because we are not on the same journey. Everybody is on their journey, and if you receive things that come from God, things that come from God, they last and they carry blessings. My sister is a deacon in the Pcea church, and she always, when we always pray, she tells us, because what God gives you, those are things that have a solid future, and they will make a very big impact in your life. Another thing we see about Joseph that is so admirable is his character. And character is about the type of person you are. Because we look at the story of Joseph. Joseph was trusted by his master, and he never did any ill against him. And in verse 8, when he was responding to Potiphar's wife, he said to her, "Look, my master does not concern himself with anything in the house, because I am here and he has put me in charge of everything that he has." We have to always ask ourselves, what is your character? At work, for those of us who work, what is your character? Are you a dependable person? Are you the kind of person when your boss is not looking, you sit down? You can only work when he's looking, and then you sit down and you start slacking off. Because your character is represented by the things that you do more than the things that you say. And are you a trustworthy person? When there is something unethical happening, are you the kind of person who will stand up and say against the wrong things that are going on? So it is very important for all of us to emulate the character of Jesus. And I think even students, this applies to us, because things like academic honesty, are you the type of person who cheats in the exams or tries to copy? You know, now we have AI and things like that, and it's so easy to try and circumvent things like that. But you have to always remember, sometimes you're not cheating the other person, you're cheating yourself. So it is very important for us to ensure that we emulate the character of Joseph, because character will take you to places brains will not take you. Because we live in an age where maybe people are not dependable. Your word, it cannot be trusted, because you tell one person I'll do this and then you fail to do. But if you develop your character and curate it according to the way Joseph did, your word is your bond, and you tell somebody this and you're able to do that, it really displays your character. And in the story of Joseph in that verse, it tells us, there's that part where Potiphar tried to grab him. It says to us that none of the servants was there. The important thing about this is that your character will be tested when no one else is looking, when no one else is there to judge you. It was just him. He was not afraid of the other servants. It was just his character and him. And you have to remember that when no one else is watching, our God in heaven sees. And He is always looking at us, and whatever we are doing, whatever we are hiding, in the end, it will come to light. And in this passage, we see that Joseph did not fall for that. Whether no one was watching or whether anyone was watching, he stood by his values. And the story of Joseph continues for much longer, to him becoming even governor of Egypt. And in the end, he even reunited with his family and his father and his brothers. And the reason I say this is because the passage that we cover today and what we focus today is just but a small part in the story of Joseph. And had he made the wrong choice in this part of his life, it would have a very huge downstream effects. The things that he would have affected, the things that maybe he would have never been able to even accomplish, and the things that he would have missed out because of that key decision. So you have to always remember that your actions have consequences, and something that, a key decision that you make right now, downstream, it could have great effects. So make every decision wisely. Pray to God that He may give you the wisdom to always make the right choice, because you don't know what that choice carries down the road. Because it was through him being thrown in prison, he interprets the dream for the winemaker, and the winemaker later on tells this to Pharaoh. Pharaoh interprets the dream for Pharaoh. Pharaoh makes him governor, and that position led him to even him being reunited with his family. So make a conscious decision, knowing that this decision could have major repercussions in the future. And going to our second reading today, this was a letter